Eicosanoids. Where are we arachidonic? That is a fatty acid. It has 20 times carbon. With probably, the book isn't saying it, hydrogen to it. And from this arachidonic, with its 20 carbon fatty acid, is the eicosanoid derived. And there are two subclasses, the prostaglandins and the leukotrienes. The leukotrienes, they are a part of allergic and inflammatory responses, and the prostaglandins, they also contribute to inflammatory responses. They help to regulate the body temperature, to dilate the airways to the lungs. They prevent stomach ulcers, and they change the response to hormones. And that is according to Gerda Toga and Seneca Grabowski's Principles for Anatomy and Physiology book on the page 47. But this is no medical advice and also no substitute for medical knowledge. Hi, welcome. I am trying to learn biochemistry today, eicosanoids. And after we've done that, we're going to do leg injury prevention training. And after we've done that, we're going to do that was it. If you participate in the leg injury prevention training, then it's already out. Eicosanoids. These are lipids derived from a 20 carbon fatty acid called arachidonic acid. It doesn't explain too much. We're reading it a second. We are reading it a second time. That doesn't explain too much, an awful much. We're gonna say there are the arachidonic acid, and these are 20 carbons together with something added to them. 20 carbons as their carbon skeleton. And these are then, I don't know what makes them to be fatty acids. It is carbon. And they never say what a fatty acid is. They just yet say the triglyceride consists of two types of building blocks, the glycerol backbone and then the three fatty acids attached to it. Nothing anymore said. They say here that we can have double covalent bonds and therefore having them a kink, these fatty acid tails. But they don't really say anything. It seems to be a bunch of hydrogen, a bunch of carbons with hydrogen to it. But they never say what it is. Okay. Arachidonic. 20, it is a fatty acid. So it is 20 times carbon, but then the book isn't saying it. I guess on each of these carbons then always hydrogen. And that is now this arachidonic, and from them are the eicosanoids derived. And there are two classes of eicosanoids. There are the leukotrienes and the prostaglandins. Leukotrienes and prostaglandins. And the prostaglandins, they are involved in a wide variety of body functions. They modify responses to hormones. There's a hormone coming and telling the cells to do that and that. And then there's coming this other arachidonic derived subclass of prostaglandin of the eicosanoids and tells it not to do that. I think they said something with channels through the cells. I think there was somewhere something said about insulin somewhere, which would be a hormone, causing then such a channel to work and to let substances through, but I don't know if it is actually the case that we have it. Not said here. Okay. They are part of the inflammatory response. There we go. One thing. Contribute to the inflammatory response. Chapter 22, we are chapter 2. They modify responses to hormones, not further explained. They modify responses to hormones, not further explained in the book, on that page. and they contribute to inflammatory responses. Contribute to the inflammatory response and prevent stomach ulcers and dilate airways to the lungs. Prevent stomach ulcers and dilate airways. The airways. Why the airways? How's it working? How can an eicosanoid enlarge in the airways? Structure consists is a stroma, and parenchyma is the functional part of an organ. What part is causing the blood vessels to increase? Why can they increase? Are blood vessels not stroma, or whatever they would be? Are they not a fixed thing, or what do they consist of? What is a blood vessel? That could be a connective tissue, I don't know. We're going to find out what is a blood vessel, and why can it dilate? And why can a hormone change it to dilate? Okay, prevent stomach ulcers, dilate they say airways, both. When also because to the airways and to the blood vessels. Airways to the lungs. And regulate body temperature and influence formation of blood clots. Okay, and when we leukotrienes participate in allergic and inflammatory responses. Is it a good or bad? Participate in inflammatory responses. Is an allergic reaction something good? Just in general. Just biologically seen. Has ever an allergic response a positive effect? The other question is, if they have an influence on the inflammatory response. Now imagine that every form of allergic response is a bad one in a human being. Then it would mean that the leukotrienes are doing something bad. What if now what they mean with inflammatory response influence mean an overinflammation, which is bad. I mean an overinflammation which is bad. Not inflammation maybe increasing blood flow or something, but an inflammation causing a problem. What if leukotrienes are just bad actors all the time? With allergic responses, and that they're not doing normal inflammatory responses, but overdoing it. Okay, the prostaglandins. Dilate the airways, that was number 3. This prevent stomach ulcers. Prevent stomach ulcers, dilate the airways to the lungs, and modify responses to hormones. Modify responses to hormones and contribute to the inflammatory response. Regulate the body temperature. It's a bit too much to say like that. And they say also, to just name a few, it are the prostaglandins and the leukotrienes. And they are all eicosanoids. They are derived from an arachidonic. 20 carbon, arachidonic leukotrienes. And these leukotrienes, they are having a part in allergic reactions. And in inflammatory reactions or responses. In allergic and inflammatory responses. And the prostaglandins, they dilate the airways to the lungs. They help to keep the body temperature at a good amount. Regulate body temperature, help to regulate the body temperature. They are also contribute to the inflammatory response. They prevent stomach ulcers. And what is then if someone has a stomach ulcer? Does that now mean that they don't do it? That they don't do it always successfully? Or does it mean that that person doesn't have prostaglandins? They prevent stomach ulcers, more or less successful. And one thing more. Influence formation of blood clots. I don't know if you should make a presentation right now. Influence formation of blood clots. and change the response of hormones. The responses to hormones. Eicosanoids. Where are the arachidonic? That is a fatty acid. It has 20 times carbon. Probably the book isn't saying it, hydrogen to it. And from this arachidonic with its 20 carbon fatty acid is the eicosanoid derived. And there are two subclasses, the prostaglandins and the leukotrienes. The leukotrienes, they are a part of allergic and inflammatory responses, and the prostaglandins, they also contribute to inflammatory responses. They help to regulate the body temperature, to dilate the airways to the lungs. They prevent stomach ulcers, and they change the response to hormones. And that is according to Gerda Toga and Sandra Gabrowski's Principles for Anatomy and Physiology book on the page 47. But this is no medical advice and also no substitute for medical knowledge. What did I forget? Formation of blood clots. Okay, if you were here for biochemistry, you've been already to the next part of biochemistry, and then we'll continue with biochemistry. If you stay here and participate in the leg injury prevention training, when it's down this, have a good standing leg, and the other one swing it in front and to the side. And the other leg in front and to the side. And one leg in front and back. Front and back, the other one. And one leg up to the side, very thin. Into the middle and down, the other leg up to the side, very thin. Middle down, one leg up, hands up, go to one side. So the other one. Again, over this time the leg also. Oh, okay. Middle hand down, the other leg up, go to one side. And over again. And over. Middle, down. One leg to the side, lift it off the ground, place it again onto the ground. Other leg. One leg, straighten it out, pull the toes in. Up, point down with the toes. Out, pull in. Other leg out. Up, point down, out, pull the toes. And one hand on tummy, one on the lower leg, lift one leg in a straight line up, try to bring the leg higher, pull the toes in. Pull the leg up. The other one. And pull it. And one leg up, press up and to the side. The other leg up, press up and to the side. And stand good, turn over to the standing leg, down, control it over to the other side. Change, turn over to the leg, down, over. Stand good and reach always with the heel of a mobile leg to imaginary 90 minutes of an imaginary dial of a clock. Change. And one heel onto the ground. Don't do it if you're pregnant, lift the heel off the ground, place it again. The same with your leg. One leg up and down. Come on. Next a bit to the sides, breathing the arms up. Out and sink down. Hands onto the ground, come back up. Roll slowly with the round back up at the top of backwards shoulder. Arms up. Down. Hands onto the ground with the back up. Roll slowly up. Backward shoulder. And arms to the sides, one leg up. Lean in front and the leg up. And again. Down. And another time. And now pull the leg in and out. And change. And the same with the other leg. Leg up. And down. Square the hips. And another time. And pull the knee in and out. Back in the middle. Legs to the sides. Breathing it out. Now around. Out. In and cross the legs. And again out. That was the leg injury prevention training. I thank you very much and until next time.